This is Mason Web TV, powered by HCC.
This broadcast on Mason Web TV, powered by HCC, is being made possible by Hood Canal Communications, keeping our community connected. Our Community Credit Union. Community is in our name and in the work we do every day. And Mason General Hospital and Family of Clinics. United community, empowered people, exceptional health.
So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. First order of business, please check your cell phones, make sure they're silenced or that they're turned off. My name is Heidi McCutcheon. I'm the Executive Director of the Shelton-Mason County Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber is the oldest and the largest business organization in Mason County. It was established in 1922, and we have nearly 400 businesses as members. It's my pleasure to be your host tonight, as well as John Lester, who served as the 2017 President of the Chamber Board and is the General Manager of the Shelton-Mason County Journal.
Thank you, Heidi. And thank you to each of our candidates. Your willingness to serve our community through public office is no easy task. Tonight's event is being live streamed and recorded thanks to our partners at Hood Canal Communications and Mason Web TV. I also like to have the members of the Chamber Government Relations Committee stand for acknowledgement for their help in putting on tonight's event together. Before we get to our candidates, I invite you to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tonight we are happy to bring you the candidates for the contested City Council races, both council position number 1 and number 2.
Our format for the evening will include hearing from both races, one at a time. We'll begin with City Council position 1. We'll hear an opening statement from each candidate on the role of legislator and what makes him the most qualified for that position. Each candidate will be allowed 90 seconds to answer. Lisa Perry, down here, who chairs the Government Relations Committee, is here in the front row to signal to you when you have 15 seconds of your time remaining and when your time has ended. The time limits will be strictly adhered to so that we can hear from each of you.
With that, we'll begin with James Bode and hear his opening statement. You have 2 minutes.
Perfect. To me, the role of the City Council is to bridge the people and the council, and it's to have a clear process and disclosure to the people so they understand exactly how what the council votes on and does affects them as an individual and the city as a whole. We're also here to make sure that we have a healthy city fiscally and aesthetically. So that is the role of the council to me. And why I feel I am the best person to be the City Council member is because of action. I take massive action and my actions get results. A few of the results that I've had recently in the Shelton area are I've torn down a completely horrible building that was next door to Domino's that was pretty much a death trap, and I believe the fire department had standing orders to not even enter that building. I'm working with the city to put in more ADUs, so auxiliary dwelling units, apartments above garages, homes in the back of a house, so that way we can have more affordable housing quickly come up in Shelton. I also am changing uses on properties and making older single-family homes that are in distress into duplexes, so now we can have 2 affordable homes on one single lot. I'm also building new duplexes. I'm also working on commercial buildings downtown and trying to renovate the downtown so we can have a thriving downtown and have more restaurants, more hotels, more nightlife, if you will. And then some of the hot issues that I keep hearing about are our homeless epidemic. And there isn't a single one-prong approach to that because there's many reasons that people are homeless, from mental disease to alcoholism and drugs to just having a hard turn in life. And with that, I actually am creating housing and housing homeless people. So I'm taking a first initial step on that, and I'm working towards other processes as well that can help the homeless. And then the last reason I feel is I have some pretty good agreeability, and I'm done.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from George Blush as he shares his 2-minute opening statement.
Hi, my name is George Blush. I am a local nonprofit leader and a small business owner. I am here every day, working in the community, getting things done. My role as a city councilman will be, like I've done everything else, to get things done. I came to help in the community a long time ago. I started volunteering with the food bank, then I created the pet food bank, then I came into the defunct business here called Nita's, and I went in there and we brought it back to life. That's what I do. I come in, I see a problem, and I fix things and I make them better. We have a lot of problems right now with homeless, drug addicts, and that sort of thing. I've been taking steps to get those issues worked on in the community. I've been working with community leaders. I have plans that are in play that are slowly going to help to alleviate all those issues that are going to work in concert with a lot of things that we already have in the community. My goal will be to continue to bring all the nonprofits together so we can resolve more of the homeless problems and get the people the help that they need, as well as work with people in the community. We have some cleaning up to do. You know, there's some garbage around we need to get cleaned up. There's different things like code enforcement's working on. I believe in a stronger code enforcement, stronger working with the police, and starting to work where we can get the laws enacted that we need to in order to get people the help that they need or get them off our streets if they're committing crimes and that sort of thing. And that's what I aim to help with.
All right. Thank you, George. This question will go to you first. You'll have 1 minute to respond. James, you'll have 1 minute after George's answer. Then, George, you'll be given another 30 seconds to respond. Likewise, on the next question, James, you will be the first and final word. George, the Chamber's mission statement includes our work to maintain a vibrant business community and to facilitate economic development. Please describe specific actions you would take as a council member to help us meet our mission. Your answers should include what actions you believe are needed. You have 1 minute.
First thing we did was clean it up. There's a lot of people out there that are just making a mess. I have a restaurant in the middle of Railroad Avenue. I am the front lines. I get to see all of it every day. They sit on the benches across the street from my shop. They make a mess. I've seen things from people defecating right across the street while there's people eating, looking at me. Thank God they're not looking the other way. We need to clean that up. I understand we need to beautify everything, and I will accomplish that. But first, let's not put another bench in and a bigger tree right next to the guy so that he can have more privacy and another place to sleep. Let's clean that up first, and then I'm all about beautifying everything here. I want my business to flourish too. I want to see it get prettier. I'm investing in the community all the time. My business keeps growing, and it will. And that's where I'm at. Thank you.
James, please describe the specific action that you would take to help the Chamber meet our work to maintain a vibrant business community and to facilitate economic development. You have 1 minute for your answer. Should you please include what actions you believe are needed?
Perfect. Bringing more businesses to town. I just recently saw in the Journal that we're losing a pretty iconic business. The Strip Steakhouse is about to close down. So we need to have great storefronts down there for people to be able to come in and affordably rent and bring new businesses and vibrant businesses to our downtown community, which brings more people, which brings more tax dollars, which goes to all of those things. The businesses bringing in that money and collecting taxes are what put those awesome benches in the parks and put the trees there and help fund keeping people off of our streets and help fund programs to get people off of drugs and the help that they need. So by doing that, I directly am already doing that. I am cleaning up the downtown.
George, any final thoughts on the subject? You have 30 seconds.
No, I think we're about good on that one there.
Thank you, George. James, you'll respond first to this question. Many believe that it is too expensive to live in the city limits. What contributes to that, and what is a possible solution? You have 1 minute to answer.
I think the biggest factor of making it expensive to live in the city is the lack of great housing in the city. One, there isn't a lot, and two, what is there normally isn't really of a great condition. We definitely have some city processes that we can change. We've got some pretty big taxes and we've got some pretty big fees that I'm learning a lot more about as we progress. But just being able to add more homes to the downtown one will be able to start bringing the rents down in the downtown area.
Good. George, same question. Many believe that it's too expensive to live inside the city limits. What contributes to that, and what do you believe is a possible solution? You also have 1 minute to answer.
Well, from what I've seen, we've had a lot of new developers come in and buy some of the old properties here, the old apartments or whatnot that are here, and they've actually jumped a lot of the rents by about a third. I've had a lot of people come in and sit at my counter and talk to me about that. The Lawton Apartments, I believe, they just jumped their rent prices. There's another one on the other side by Mickey's Deli that they also did the same exact thing. So I think what we need to do is we need to maybe start working with the people who already own them so that they won't be so inclined to sell them to people who are just trying to make a profit, because the people who were there before seem to be more willing to work with the community and things were getting better. So I think we need to definitely encourage people to make long-term investments into larger housing developments. I have a few people that I'm actually speaking to about that right now, and I think we can do a lot with that.
Very good. James, would you like to say anything else on the subject?
No, I feel we're pretty on point.
George, this question goes to you first. You'll have 1 minute for your response. The city has recently revised permit fees and building permits. How do you think this will affect the economic development? You have 1 minute to answer.
I've recently come across some things about the permitting process in the city that actually kind of concern me regarding the nonprofit organizations. Some of the increases in prices over this year that actually concern me a lot. And that's one of the things that I want to look into and address if I do get elected, is that we need to work more with the people that are trying to help the disenfranchised in our community instead of trying to tax them more and make it harder on them. You know, a lot of them have a hard enough job to begin with.
James, you have the same question. City has recently revised permit fees and building permits. How do you think this will affect the economic development? You have 1 minute.
Anytime the fees go down, I believe it definitely helps, but that's just a very, very small fraction of it. The process is what makes it really desirable to come into an area or not. And when the process is flawed, people don't want to come. They don't want to invest their money, because if the barrier of entry is hard, why would they not go to somewhere where it's easier? And there's a lot that's just process. The process isn't hard to fix if you know how to create process. It's not changing laws and major rules, and that's where I feel that they fail us pretty bad often in the city. And you know, with that, there's a lot of things that I'm already working on to be able to entice people to come in and put new development. Their stock plans. If we have these beautiful infill lots in our city, and we have to go through this monstrosity process to get and build a home down there, it's challenging. But if we have stock plans, within 30 days, we could have people breaking ground on building new homes. They basically have to show up, put a plot plan in, which is pretty easy to do, and pay the fee, and they can start building with stock plans. And Olympia is actually doing it in Tumwater, and they're willing to share with us as we progress. So,
George, any final thoughts on the subject?
I like that idea with sharing with Olympia on an idea like that, getting, you know, some kind of streamlining with the permits, because I definitely have seen, even like I said with the nonprofits, how there's a lot of volunteer hours that go into preparing all the stuff and that sort of thing. So that's just another cost on everybody else's shoulders. So we definitely need to look into local other governments to see what they're doing to streamline the permits.
Thank you. James, you'll respond first to this question. What do you believe is the city of Shelton's role in quality of life, parks, trails, and walkability? You have 1 minute.
gosh, I definitely believe that the city of Shelton needs to contribute to those things, because as we have good, clean parks and great trails, they're just things that entice people to our city. They can come here now for the more of the restaurants and nightlife, and actually amazing antique stores as well here in town. But then they can stay. They can take really cool walks. They can hang out at the park. They can barbecue. We have basketball hoops. We've got a brand new hoops coming in downtown. So there's a lot that they can do. Kind of drifted, but that's all I have.
Good. George, what do you believe is the city of Shelton's role in the quality of life, parks, trails, and walkability? You also have 1 minute for your answer.
I believe we're definitely responsible for keeping the trails and parks the way that they're supposed to be. The park behind Brewer Park there, right behind Community Life and Shelter, used to be a place that people used to come to and gather at Christmas time, and it was a beautiful thing. And then you had the Christmas tree right across the street. I hear stories forever from my business partner all day long about how his mom used to take him there, and they used to hide in the bushes and play for all day long. And I want that park back. And I think that we're going to have to clean up the mess that's there in order to get the park back. How we're going to do that, we're going to have to find some ways to, install sprinkler systems, whatever we got to do. We got to get some of the, because people are going there, there's a mess, they don't want to go there, the smell comes off. So we need to just find ways to start cleaning it up. I mean, and start holding people accountable for the mess they make. We have to find a way to do that.
Thank you. James, would you like to say anything else on the subject?
Yeah, I mean, with that, it comes back to a lot of the things I talk about building that downtown and about bringing in more of those tax dollars to actually fund these things. Because if the city has a surplus, then it's a lot easier to demand them to spend it. It's hard to put the city into a deficit to clean up a park. So it's about bringing in that new tax dollars and not taxing more of what we have.
Thank you, James. We'll now move into the questions that the candidates have prepared for one another. The first question has been prepared by James for George. George, you'll have 90 seconds to answer. James's question is, do you think of our downtown is healthy and successful? If so, why? If not, what would you do to change that?
I think it's at a point where it's about to go somewhere positive. I think we have a lot of growth coming in because of all the areas around us that are growing. And I think that it's starting to go in the right direction. Right now, unfortunately, like you said, we have some businesses closing. A lot of businesses are coming up for sale. And it breaks my heart every time I see another one, because I'm just, I've been here a year and a half, and I'm trying to make it myself. And the more businesses you see fall around you, the more nervous that makes you as a business guy. So, I'm very optimistic, but I'm not, some days you get up and you look at the register and you're like, I don't know. But then the next day, you have a good day and things pick up and it's better. So it's right at that point where I think it can be something. That's how I feel.
James, you have 30 seconds to clarify or respond if you'd like.
Awesome. I like that we're seeing the same things. I feel like our city's just at that boiling point to where it's not going to take a lot more. We don't have to bring hundreds of things in here to really get vibrant. We need a dozen things that are great, that stay open, that accommodate the people and what they want and need. I'm very happy with where our downtown is going, and I see how quickly it could be everything we want it to be.
Thank you. George, would you like to respond again? You'll have a minute.
No. Not right there.
James, here's the first question that George has prepared. You'll have 90 seconds to respond. Some of the nonprofit organizations have reported difficulties when working with the city, such as the cost and time needed by volunteers to complete the required paperwork. How do you think this can be improved?
Once again, I believe all of that comes to process with it. There's a lot of things that they can improve in the city where they template things out for people more, where we have a nonprofit template where what are we trying to accomplish? I mean, there's certain things that are going to be hard to put people to the head of the line, and we have building codes, so we have to deal with those things. They have to run through different departments depending on the extent of what they're doing. But simple things like blowing off your sidewalk downtown takes you going in there and filling out paperwork with the permit where you have to draw maps and put blockages, and there's a myriad of things that you need to know just to be able to literally pressure wash your sidewalk downtown. And it costs about $75. I mean, easy things could be having, once again, a template for that. With X's, put X's on the streets that apply to you. I'm off of 5th and 4th, I'm closing these. I mean, we can make it very simple, and it's just a process. And those are things that don't cost a lot of money, they don't take a lot of time, and they don't take anything to change and implement other than the want and need.
George, you have 30 seconds if you'd like to clarify or respond.
No, I think you answered that well. I'm the nonprofit guy. I'm the law enforcement guy. My wife's a sheriff. I'm surrounded by police, so I always run with that side. And I understand all the things that they all go through, because even the police are a nonprofit in their own way, and they have to jump through a lot of different hoops. And I hate to see bureaucracy tie all that stuff up. Yeah. Right.
James, anything else on that topic?
I agree with that. Working with the nonprofits as well, I can definitely help them when I'm available, and I do, but it's a great thing.
George, here's the next question that was submitted by James for you. You have 90 seconds to respond. Do you believe it is better to build new homes and commercial space, or rehab, expand, better utilize the existing homes and storefronts?
You have to have a common denominator of both, because you need to always have growth because you want to bring in more people, but you also have to be able to rehabilitate some of the stuff that you already have there. I mean, you don't want to, because if you build a brand new house next to an eyesore, no one's going to buy it. It's going to sit, you're going to have a mess there, and hey, listen, I bought my house, but believe me, I looked at the neighbors before I moved in, just like anyone else does, so you're always going to want to look at that. But there definitely needs to be a happy medium right in the middle there. So,
James, you have 30 seconds to clarify, respond.
Yeah, it absolutely is about having a great mix of that. You always want to have the old and the new. We have some amazing architecture in town, especially the downtown area. There's some really cool homes that could be rehabbed and keep that cool character and charm. I know, and it's a challenge because you see things like Seattle where you've got this beautiful 100-plus-year-old craftsman home next to a square home with a tilted roof that dumps it all into their yard. So it's about that mix and keeping that aesthetics of our town, not blowing in these weird new modern things next to cool Victorian homes.
George, you have one more minute to discuss if you'd like.
I like it, my business was opened in 1952, and I came in there and I took what I had and I ran with it, and I like the old-timey stuff, and so I know we got to, fix up everything and keep going. I walked in the door there and nothing worked, so I understand the rehabilitation process. I had a stove from 1952 that if I replaced, I had to put a whole new suppression system and all that in, so we fixed it, and you just keep working with what you got and you keep moving forward. That's what we got to keep doing.
This next question was prepared by George for James. Presentations at council meetings have shown that code enforcement has cleaned up some problem areas inside the city limits. What are some other ways to maintain the cleanliness of our town without making garbage service mandatory?
You had to throw the mandatory garbage service. But we actually have some really good things that we already enact and actually are getting taken advantage of. I definitely would like to promote them more and get them more taken advantage of. We have the free garbage pickup days. We have the free dump days. We have a lot of things that promote that. We actually have quite a few groups that are out there. We've got ploggers, which is, I guess, some European thing for picking up garbage while you're out walking. It's fancy. But and we've had some other people. We've actually had somebody who ran for council who ran a pretty good group of people that picked up garbage. So there's people with a want and a need out there, and I do see it on a lot of the sites, the Shelton Talks and the things like that, where people constantly are getting together to do those type of things. It's just promoting and nurturing that as a community to get out there and take care of our environment as well, and hold people accountable to throwing their garbage on the ground and leaving things around.
George, you have 30 seconds if you would like to clarify or respond. Okay.
The next question has been prepared by James for George. James, the question for you is, what three steps needed to be taken to put the city on a firm financial footing? For George, I'm sorry.
First and foremost, we need to look at where we're putting our money into and what areas that we're overspending for just doing the same thing repeatedly over and over. A lot of times you're going to keep facing the same problem and without going after the root issue. If you have someone who's breaking benches in the park, you got to get the person that's breaking the benches out of the park. So you got to identify the problem first. The next thing is we need to figure out how we're going to afford to remedy all of the problems that we have. We need to take a look at the different grants and the different availabilities of options of things that we can do in order to address the issue. And then finally, we need to take action and get it done.
James, you have 30 seconds to clarify or respond if you'd like.
Yes, I mean, the three steps that I would feel on that for sure are controlling spending. I mean, that's just a simple, should be the first one we do. And then generating new income, bringing in new businesses, bringing in things that generate income for our city, and then getting community involvement and really engaging in community involvement and being crystal clear and transparent with the decisions that are being made and how they do affect everyone.
Thanks. George, you like to respond?
I think we pretty much said the same thing, maybe in a different order almost. So, yeah.
I was just copying it.
There we go.
George elected to submit just 2 questions for James, so at this time we'll move on to closing statements.
I'd like to thank you to both of you for fielding these questions from the chamber and from one another. You will have 2 minutes for your closing statements. As James began with the opening statement, we'll hear now first from George.
My name is George, as most of you know by now. I believe I am the right candidate because I'm here every day. I'm getting things done. I've been to meetings, the council meetings, the city county commissioner meetings. I've built relationships with the county and within the city so that I can get things done. But there's not going to be a lot of things that I can't accomplish. Every task that you put in front of me up to this point in my life, I found a way to conquer, found a way to get it done. My restaurant, helping in the nonprofit world, getting things done is what I do. Every day I am at work. My grandfather, when I was younger, he broke his back about 5 times, broke his hip, broke his neck. In the last 6 months of his life, he walked down the driveway with 6 10-foot 2x4s over his shoulder, and I was nursing kind of a hangover that day, and he looked at me and goes, "Get up, you punk, what are you doing?" And from that point forward, I never nursed a hangover anymore. I got up every morning, no matter how bad I felt, sucked it up, and remembered Grandpa with his 2x4s, and I get to work and get things done. And that's what I'm going to do for the city of Shelton.
We'll end up things with James. You have 2 minutes.
I think the biggest thing that I can say about the reason I'm the right person for the job is no matter how great my ideas are, no matter how many great ideas we get from the community, it's going to take 3 other people to agree with me to really make those things happen. And I am the candidate that can get 3 other people to do what's right for the community and for you.
We appreciate both of you for sharing your views and your platform with us this evening. Thank you. We'll now have a 5-minute break as we prepare the stage for City Council Member Position 2. Thank you.
TV powered by HCC is the only source for live high school sports broadcasts in Mason County. Join us every week this school year for another exciting game. If you want to be part of future broadcasts, contact Mason Web TV right now and become a community broadcast partner. Join the likes of Hood Canal Communications, our community credit union, and Mason General Hospital and Family of Clinics in supporting student athletes. A simple phone call, text, or email can put you in the next broadcast on Mason Web TV, powered by HCC.
Welcome back. We're happy to bring the candidates for City Council Position 2, Kathy McDowell and Dean Jewett, to share their platform with you. Candidates, before you begin, I'll draw your attention to Lisa Perry, sitting here in the front row. She'll signal to you again when you have 15 seconds of your time remaining and when your time has ended. With that, we'll get things started. We'll begin with Kathy McDowell and hear her opening statement. Kathy, you have 2 minutes.
Well, I'm Kathy McDowell, and I am running for a 2nd term for City Council. I started out 4 years ago on the commission, 3-person commission, and the voters voted in council. So we have 7 people now sitting on council, and I'm part of that. I am going to be running again. I am running again for a 2nd term. I grew up in Shelton. I was born in the old Mason General Hospital. Grew up, went to the Shelton School District schools, Bordeaux, junior high, and high school. And my husband and I moved to Bellingham after we got married. He went to college, and then we moved back. We lived in the county for a while, and then we moved into the city. And I decided that years after we moved into the city that there were some things that need to be worked on, and I felt I was probably qualified to do that. So I ran one run, and then I lost that, and then did it again and won the 2nd time. So anyway, I've been serving. It's been a pleasure to serve the community and see the growth that we have going on in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll hear from Dean now as he shares his opening statement. You have 2 minutes.
The role of a city council person, it's the legislative branch of the city government. We're here to vote on laws, ordinances, based off the community needs, what our constituents have asked of us, and then what our personal beliefs and morals, and hopefully those are in line with the constituents. I'm a driven individual. I've gained a lot of my insight through 20, 30 plus years in the telecom field. Many of you may remember Harbor Video Cable. That's where I started out. Cable TV back in the day was $4.95 a month. Can you imagine that? I am a local business owner. I had my first business when I was 23 years old, still while doing the cable TV industry. I've had to adapt and overcome, change my management style to the people that I serve. I mean, that's what we're here to do. We're serving the people and our community. If elected, I will take the same tenacity towards the city of Shelton that I do in my personal life and my business. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dean, this question first goes to you. You'll have 1 minute for your response, and Kathy, you'll have 1 minute after Dean's answer. Then Dean, you'll be given another 30 seconds to respond. Likewise, on the next question, Kathy, you'll be first and final word. Dean, the Chamber's mission statement includes our work to maintain a vibrant business community and to facilitate economic development. Please describe specific actions that you would take as a council member to help us meet our mission. Your answer should include what actions you believe are needed. You have 1 minute.
Well, if you take a look at one of the buildings downtown, and it's a county, it says Permit Assistance Center. I would like to see a Permit Assistance Center within the city of Shelton. I've had to go through some of my own pitfalls going through some of the permit processes. I feel that if there was a good process in place, that would entice builders and developers to come in, and when you do that, you increase your tax base, your revenue, and basically you solve your problem within itself right there.
Kathy, you have the same question. Please describe the specific actions you would take to help the Chamber meet our work to maintain a vibrant business community and to facilitate economic development. Your 1 minute answer should include what actions you believe are needed.
Well, I believe that to have a vibrant community, we have to have some good quality businesses, some good businesses in Shelton, good, strong businesses. Restaurants, hotels, nightlife, like James was saying earlier. I would encourage to do that. There has to be a permit system that's streamlined and easier to go through. So the city works with the EDC works with the city, bringing that stronger businesses to town and keeping the economic growth of Shelton going.
Dean, any further thoughts on the subject? You have 30 seconds.
No, sir.
Thank you. Kathy, this question will go to you first. How would you prioritize City of Shelton's budget between the police department, public works, community development, parks, or something else? Where do you think the greatest allocation should go towards and why? You have 1 minute to answer.
I strongly believe that our police department needs to be fully funded and strong. When we have a budget issue with in our city and the police department is struggling to keep police officers on the street, new equipment, I think the morale of the police department is down. What was the other ones?
Police department, public works, community development, parks, or something else.
Public works, community development, parks, that all kind of just goes in together. We need having a strong public works. We now are looking at Alder Street, our roundabout, any projects that we are doing. If we have a good, strong public works, community development, and parks, very important to have good, healthy parks for our community, for our families and our kids.
Thank you. Dean, how would you prioritize the City of Shelton's budget between the police department, public works, community development, parks, or something else? Where do you believe the greatest allocation should go and why?
Well, the police obviously is very crucial. I mean, they keep the city running. So there has to be a pretty good allocation towards them. But you also have to have a strong public works and an infrastructure to have a good community. Your public spaces, your parks, those are obviously it's not an option. Those are kind of a necessity within a community. That's what kind of keeps your lifeblood there. I would have to really dive in and find out some more information before I could just throw out an answer. But I would probably start with police, parks, public works.
Very good. Kathy, would you like to say anything else on the subject? If so, you have 30 seconds.
No.
Dean, this question will go to you first. Considering the Boise decision that says municipalities may not criminalize homelessness by sleeping outdoors unless beds are available, what solutions should be prioritized? If these solutions need funding, where do we find it? You have 1 minute.
It's kind of ironic you asked me that question. I'm fairly prolific on my social media, and I've actually done quite a bit of research into that topic and those questions. Don't reinvent the wheel. Why should we reinvent the wheel and have the pitfalls that we have? There's so many communities that are finding answers to this and having to struggle with that decision. Everett, Burien, Tacoma, a lot of these cities. Let's get out there, let's send some representation there, find out what those are, how are they funding those? Think outside of the box. Just because you don't have the money available to you in the bank, that doesn't mean that you can't do it. Maybe there's some volunteerism, maybe there's some other business owners that could get together. There's other avenues other than your money in the bank to see those things happen and be done.
Thank you. Kathy, same question. Considering the Boise decision that says municipalities may not criminalize homelessness by sleeping outdoors unless beds are available, what solutions should be prioritized? If these solutions need funding, where do you fund it? You have 1 minute.
Well, all these need funding. It's just that the funds aren't there. And so I believe strongly that the community, the churches, and the city ought to all work together on this issue. I went to an event the other night and visited with several people that their cities are having the same struggles. And they're coming up with some suggestions or some ideas that are that doesn't cost anything or doesn't cost very much money, and they're putting their heads together with other cities and figuring the solution out.
Dean, you have 30 more seconds if you'd like.
Well, to me, people say that word homeless, and being homeless is not a criminal offense.
No.
The offenses are what happens around that homeless situation and our population, whether it be the drug use, whether it be the garbage, whether it be those things. Those are the things that we need to address as well.
Great. Thank you, Dean. Kathy, you'll respond first to this question. There are groups currently discussing workforce housing and affordable housing. How are the two related, and what do you believe is the city's role? You have 1 minute.
I think workforce and affordable will both go hand in hand. We build affordable housing for people to come to our city, and they may work in another town, but they live here. And to be able to do that, the housing has to be affordable and workforce cost.
Dean, same question. There are groups currently discussing workforce housing and affordable housing. How are the two related, and what do you believe is the city's role? You also have 1 minute.
Well, I'm not sure that what role the city has in that, other than your permitting processes and getting these houses built. James made a statement too about getting some buildings and stuff that we already have, getting the duplexes set into place, creating more homes for that workforce. Shelton's a bedroom community to your Olympia, your state capitol, and your Bremerton shipyard. So there's a workforce that comes in, they're going to need those houses.
Very good. Kathy, any other words on the subject?
No.
Thank you, Kathy.
Mm-hmm.
We'll now move into the questions that the candidates have prepared for one another. The first question has been prepared by Kathy for Dean. Dean, you'll have 90 seconds to answer. Kathy's first question for you is, if you had a choice between having a school resource officer or an officer on the streets due to budget conflicts, which would you choose and why?
I got that one right now. That's the school resource. The reason being is that's where the change starts. You have not that the person on the street is not important, but I feel that we could prioritize on having that resource officer and that training and having that interaction with the students. And I believe that you would have a better payback that you would see. It may be a little bit of a longer term goal down the road, but those kids that see that resource officer, they're going to take that information. They're going to talk to their peers about it. They're going to talk to their parents about it. And you're still going to get that information, I believe, to the parents, to the people that are with those kids, and with, like I said, peer to peer. So I believe I would choose the resource.
Kathy, you have 30 seconds to clarify or respond to Dean.
I totally agree. The relationship between police officers and our children need to be there, and we can encourage kids. Well, let me back up here a minute. By having a resource officer, building a relationship, we actually are getting more bang for our buck by having a resource officer, because then on the times they're not here at the school, they can be doing their working with the police department in what they need to be done.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Dean, you have one more minute to discuss this topic if you'd like.
No, I think I've pretty much stated that, and I agree with Kathy on that 100%.
Okay.
Kathy, here's the first question that Dean has prepared for you. You'll have 90 seconds to respond. Homelessness and street as well as park camping has been a huge issue with negative impacts recently. What steps have you taken to address this?
Just make the public aware that these people that are homeless and sleeping in parks need compassion and help in whatever we can offer as a city for them.
Okay. Dean, you have 30 seconds to clarify or respond if you'd like.
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
This next question has been prepared by Kathy for Dean. Kathy's question is, there is a high cost to put a person in jail. What situations do you support? What alternatives to incarceration do you support, if any? Dean, you have 90 seconds to answer.
Well, in the past, the county has approved, obviously the city deals with the county when you're talking about jail. I informed myself by taking a tour of the jail and having conversations with the officers there, and then meeting with Chief Moody. In the past, we've been able to either use Nisqually Jail, Centralia, Wapato at a reduced cost based off of your incarceration 30 days or more. I would like to see that utilized more. And then I would also, can you read that question one more time?
Sure. There's a high cost of putting person in jail. What situations do you support? What alternatives to incarceration do you support?
So then obviously there's a treatment option within that. You know, I mean, you can't just take somebody and say, okay, now you're going to jail. I mean, that person, there needs to be a 2 or 3 tiered approach to that. There needs to be the incarceration, there needs to be the strict enforcement, and then you also have to have the option of a treatment. Maybe that's only going to help 10, 20, 30% of the time. Maybe it takes that person 4 or 5 times of going through a treatment. But if we get 50% of those people that we would have incarcerated to become a valuable asset to our community, then we've done what we needed to do.
Thank you. Kathy, you have 30 seconds to clarify or respond if you'd like.
I think that the treatment program is great. It doesn't always work, and you know, we find that out later, but that's one way to go about that is the treatment plan.
Dean, you have one more minute if you'd like it.
No, I'm okay.
The next question was prepared by Dean for Kathy. The City of Shelton's permit process has been said to be a major hurdle for those looking to expand small business and for builders. What have you done to encourage growth within the city? You have 90 seconds for your response.
I've encouraged our permitting department to, and our city manager to make the permitting system more streamlined. I like the Stockholm ideas. If a person has a piece of property or buys property in the city, to build a stock home there. It's faster, it's more economical for the city and the builder. And so just working with the Public Works and the permitting department, just encouraging them to work harder and faster.
Very good. Dean, you have 30 seconds if you'd like to clarify or respond.
Do you support a prioritized ranking of a permit issuance or the time needed to take to review a permit process? For instance, if you have a school that's going through and there's a ton of blueprints and things versus somebody that wants to do an infill, do you support that idea that you could put some focus on that individual and get them building before a big commercial project?
I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
So prioritizing a permit, me as a lowly homeowner and I want to do a garage, am I going to have to wait for a big commercial project to get through all of their pre-submission stuff before they even take a look at my permit?
I believe that the permit should be put in order, but if you have a small project, that there should be someone available to look at that, as long as, as come alongside as they're working on the big projects. They can work, there's someone to work on the small projects also, so that builders, people don't get discouraged and take their business elsewhere.
Right.
Okay, Dean, here's the next question that was submitted by Kathy for you. You have 90 seconds to respond. Does homelessness in Shelton have a simple or difficult solution, and why?
Well, it's a difficult situation. If it was an easy answer and it was a 1-2 sentence fix to whatever, the country would have already done that. It's a pretty complex issue. There's, you have your PTSD, you have your violence in the home, you have the children, raised in a negative manner, incarceration parents, absentee parents, grandparents raising the kids. There's so many factors that go into that. And then also the way that we handle that care of those individuals. To me, there's 100 people that need help. There might possibly be 30 people that actually need to have an advocate to help them out because they've digressed into their mental state where they can't make good conscious decisions for themselves. I also firmly believe that there's maybe 70 of those people that are sandbagging and working the system and could actually go out and become a valuable member to society. So if we can figure out that split and then we can focus on that 30%, I think we have a lot better chance of getting that answer.
Kathy, you have 30 seconds to clarify or respond.
I totally agree with him.
Okay.
The last question prepared by Dean for Kathy is, the City of Shelton commissioned a community vision and action plan. In October 2015, prioritized plans were implemented. What have you done to encourage or assist this direction? You have 90 seconds for your response.
Well, I have engaged our Lions Club to carry on a project that was on the visioning project. The basketball or some sort of sports complex or simple little sports area at the end of the parking lot. And I talked with the Lions Club and we went forward, and it's taken off like gangbusters. We're going to be looking at some basketball hoops, and I'm really, really excited. So that was part of the visioning project that I took on.
Very good. Dean, you have 30 seconds if you'd like to clarify or respond.
Yeah, my hat's off to you on that as well. I mean, that's I couldn't applaud you more. I mean, I think that's a very needed, I would really like to see that expanded into some of the pocket parks and stuff. I think that's a real huge benefit. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's a group effort.
Kathy, if you want, you have 1 more minute on the topic if you'd like.
The main reason why this is a necessity is that we need more healthy things for our kids and adults to do, and having this at the end of the parking lot can be used 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with no restrictions. So the health and well-being of our community.
Thank you to both of you for fielding these questions from the chamber and from one another. You will have 2 minutes for your closing statements. As Kathy began with her opening statement, we'll first hear from Dean.
I really appreciate the opportunity to be up here. I really appreciate the insight that I've gained from Chamber of Commerce, the after-hours events, the council meetings. I really feel that I can do what's needed within this community. I'll steal one of George's statements. I'm a man of action. I don't sit around. I think sleep is overrated. So I'm just gonna, I'm a hard charger. I'm a can do. I don't really understand a can't do. When I was in the telecom field and had 200-300 technicians underneath me in 5 different states, I mean, that was one of my can things. I don't want to hear what you can't do. I want to see how you're going to go around it, overcome it, go under it. That's the same thing that I'm going to bring to the table as a council person.
We'll end up things with Kathy. You have 2 minutes.
I have had the honor of being a commissioner and a council person for 4 years, and I have some projects that I've been working on that I'm not done with. I do put my head forward, and when I see a need, I work hard to make it happen. So I am excited to be able to serve 4 more years of the city and see what I can bring to them fresh and new. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate both of you for sharing your views and your platform with us this evening. Our thanks again to all of you for joining us, both in person and online, and we appreciate each of the candidates for joining us tonight and sharing their platform. My thanks again to the Chamber's Government Relations team, the Chamber Board of Trustees, my co-host, John Lester of the Shelton-Mason County Journal, and to Mason Web TV and Hood Canal Communications for live streaming tonight's event.
Thank you all for coming, and please drive safe going home. Have a great night.
Thank you.
This broadcast on Mason Web TV, powered by HCC, was made possible by Mason General Hospital and Family of Clinics, United Community, Empowered People, Exceptional Health. Our Community Credit Union, community is in our name and in the work we do every day. And Hood Canal Communications, keeping our community connected.
Thanks for watching Mason Web TV, powered by HCC.